ups should be fine. It's just for the intro. But before we get into everything, 56.8% of the people who watch the videos are not subbed to the channel. Guys, if you like the videos and you keep on coming back, the best way to support us is hitting that subscribe button. It means everything to us. The support that we've gotten since we've started this podcast is more than I could have imagined. It's not breathtaking, but it's still very much appreciated. So, if you keep on coming back to the podcast and you're part of that 56.8%, please, it would be much appreciated if you subscribe. So let's hop into the podcast.
Let's jump into our Week 6 recap. Cleveland, Pittsburgh. That was a barn burner. I didn't expect Cleveland to just put up a dud. I mean, they only had 7 points that entire game. This Pittsburgh defense is crazy. They're legit. What about you? What are your takeaways from this game?
I just want to say that we were terribly wrong. We both picked Cleveland last week, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, I'm not picking against the Steelers the rest of the year. They could be the best team in the league right now. I'm debating between them and the Titans as the best team right now, most balanced team overall. They just put up a show on defense. The
Yeah.
pressure was insane on Baker. Baker had no time in the pocket. It was a great show by their D line and their linebackers covering those weapons on the Browns.
And of course, with a great performance, you got to take a huge hit. Devin Bush, very, very great young linebacker, developing well. It seemed like towards ACL in that game. He, of course, is going to miss the rest of the season. Hope he has a speedy recovery. And then game of the week, no doubt. Game of the year potential. Houston, Tennessee. Houston looks so much better without Bill O'Brien. It's not even debatable. They look so much better. But Tennessee looks even better. And they're playing great. Derrick Henry playing great. They managed to take it to overtime. Really made this game one of the best games to watch all season. And because of the performance put up by Derrick Henry, he's going to get my Offensive Player of the Week. 212 rushing yards, 52 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's unmatched. And he got the game-winning touchdown at the end just to add on to it. Henry, an absolute beast, making his case for the best running back in the league now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Derrick Henry as my offensive player of the week, obviously. But I want to mention one thing. If you take away like his overtime stats and that long run, it's just, I mean, of course he did good, but I want to mention someone else later on in the podcast for my offensive player of the week that I think had a big impact on their game also, and only played 4 quarters. But Henry, obviously a great game, won the game for them.
Yeah.
He put the team on his shoulders, carried them to victory in overtime, clutch run in the end zone. Just a great game by the Titans. They're showing that they're great.
And about as much credit as you can give to Derrick Henry, you can also give to Tannehill as well as A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has looked great since he's come back. That's now 3 touchdowns in 2 games. He's been getting yards, and he's the go-to guy for Tannehill now. I was kind of debating if he was going to do that. I thought that guy was going to take over as Jonnu Smith, as the one guy he's going to look to when it comes to the red zone. But Jonnu Smith battling with some injuries. It doesn't look that severe, but A.J. Brown looks great. The whole entire Tennessee, like you said earlier, Tennessee is making a case for one of the best teams in the league. Green Bay, Tampa, what in the world happened? What in the world happened to Green Bay? I mean, the only guy to get a touchdown in this game was Aaron Jones, and that's good for my fantasy team, but he still didn't do anything. I mean, he only had 13. This whole team just flat out just laid on their backs. Aaron Rodgers threw, what was it, like his 3rd pick 6 of his career to that game. Tampa looked great.
Almost two
yeah,
pick sixes.
almost 2 pick 6s. Tampa looks great. I'll give it to him. That defense is really, especially that secondary, is performing a lot better than I would have thought of. They got a rising star over there. I can't really remember his name, but I know, I believe he's a rookie, and he has been balling out for them. So all props to Tampa. You're not looking so crazy now with your prediction at the beginning of the season, which is kind of what I wanted to discuss. You know, Bucks, could they still be a division winner? I don't think it was ever out of the competition, but the Saints are going to be getting Michael Thomas back. I don't really feel like it's more of a set deal. Like if it were for like other teams, which really no division right now is a set deal. Even the NFC East, we suck, but everyone sucks. So you don't know who could win it. But Tampa is definitely making a big case for Super Bowl contention. Basically, what do you think that game, especially that big old stinker, says about this Green Bay offense more in particular?
The Green Bay offense, another game that was won by pass rush from Tampa Bay. I mean, if you watch that game, almost every play they were getting to Rodgers. Rodgers was getting frustrated, started to air it out near the end of the game, and he was just frustrated at his coaches, his teammates, everyone. They like zoomed in on his face a few times, and you could see that he was out of it. Devontae Adams was even out of it, not playing his best. Another game won by pass rush and run game. The Bucks put on a great show on the ground. Ronald Jones showing he's the workhorse for that team. Great show on the ground. Great offensive line. Good team win.
No doubt. And then Sunday Night Football, Los Angeles versus San Fran. I had Los Angeles taking this game. I thought San Fran looked beat up, especially after the loss they just got handed to them by Fitzmagic. I thought LA was going to come in here and be that high-powered offense they've been all season, but San Fran took their spot. Sadly, they lost Raheem Mostert once again, 3 to 6 weeks. So that is huge upside if you're a McKinnon owner. You held on to him for a couple of weeks. I traded him because I didn't expect Mostert to get injured 2 weeks afterwards. But I feel like I got good value when I did trade him. But if you held on to McKinnon, good for you, because now he's going to be that guy again. I think it was averaging like 16 points per week when Mostert wasn't there. But yeah, Sanford really just showed up. LA, of course, got some more points during garbage time. Another great game for Kittle. I believe 7 targets, 106 yards. I could be wrong on that, and a touchdown. I mean, Kittle's been performing a lot better since he's came back from his injury, kind of making a case for the best tight end in the league. What do you think about that?
George Kittle, he's definitely the best tight end in the league, in my opinion. Kelsey's definitely the better receiving threat. But if you watch Kittle play, the blocking, everything, he impacts the team. He's the number 1 target on that team, unlike Kelsey. So I think he's the best in the game right now.
Yeah. And then Kansas City versus Buffalo. A sloppy game from Buffalo. Could not stop the run to save their life. I mean, when you force Andy Reid to run the ball, I mean, I'm pretty sure that was one of, if not the most rushing yards Andy Reid has ever had in a single game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a great game. Didn't get to the end zone, though. They kind of took that away from him, but he had a phenomenal game. Buffalo, especially on that last drive, Stephon Diggs looked lazy. Josh Allen looked horrible. I thought he was going to have more rushing yards than passing yards. I mean, he just couldn't connect on a throw. Everyone was saying his accuracy really bumped up. Do you think people were saying he was coming in the MVP race. Do you think Josh Allen can kind of get back to that level, or has he come back down to earth to like 2019, maybe even 2018 Allen?
No, he's definitely still at that level. He has a couple of hiccups. I mean, he's airing the ball deep. Diggs has huge upside if you're a fantasy owner. If you watch that game, the amount of deep targets that Diggs was getting, but Allen just overthrew. If Allen can get his arm right and hit Diggs on those deep passes, he can potentially be the stud of the week a few weeks this season, because he's getting insane deep targets. And I wanted to talk about Hilaire. He was my other kind of offensive player of the week. Just the impact he had on that game. Just at the end, he was just running the ball so much, getting first downs, getting the yards that the Chiefs needed to secure the win and run the time off the clock.
And this was a big game for Hilaire, too. I mean, you got Le'Veon Bell coming in. A couple of years back, one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, he's a very patient runner, but he's very patient on those runs for a good reason, because he finds holes out of nowhere, or at least that's what he did in Pittsburgh. Came over to New York. He didn't really do anything. Now he's over there in Kansas City. A lot of people are saying Edwards-Hilaire's stock is going down. Well, now he puts up that performances. The average yardage he got on every run was insane. Of course, that kind of got hit a little bit when he got tackled for a loss on his last 2 runs, I believe. But still, Edwards-Helaire looked great. And I think his stock is still going to drop when it comes to in the passing game. When it comes to on the ground, Edwards-Helaire is definitely going to be getting the touches that he's still getting. I think the passing game is really just going to go away for him. They're going to focus that, which is really Le'Veon Bell's strength, in my opinion. And then, of course, the game everyone wants to talk about. It's fresh on our minds. It's fresh on my mind. Arizona completely blows out Dallas. I had Arizona beating us by 12. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I didn't expect us to beat them by that much, but with the weapons that you got, Dalton putting up an absolute dud. What can Dalton really do for Dallas? I mean, you got, after a game like that, players coming out, anonymous sources, anonymous players, they didn't want to come out and say it themselves in front of people or the internet or whatever, but they're keeping it anonymous. They're denouncing the coaching staff. The coaching staff is denouncing the players. This team looks horrid. And if there's anybody to get this game, people thought it was going to be Zeke. It's got to be Dalton. He's the quarterback. Somebody's got to get this team together. Do you think Dalton can still fill those shoes?
No, after last night, I don't. I'm going to be honest. He has a terrible line. He has the weapons to do it, but he doesn't have time at all. He's getting hit directly off the scrimmage with no like uncontested safeties, just running through. Buda Baker sacked him a few times, I think. I mean, it's just a bad situation. You have one of the most high-powered offenses. You just got killed by injuries on your O-line, killed by Dak's injury, and Dalton just isn't it anymore. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, I would have at least thought that Dalton would have had somewhat of control, but he can't control this team. This team doesn't trust in him. No team would trust without a guy like Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is one of the best, just the best overall men in the league when it comes to his image, how he is with his teammates. Everyone knows when Dak's in the locker room, everyone is getting their hopes up, and that's kind of the thing. What Jason Garrett was. Mike McCarthy is not that. Andy Dalton is definitely not that. And when you start to look at how this team played, we'll get into how Arizona played, but I mean, you gotta help but not think, are the Eagles now starting to be the favorite for the NFC East? Because I hate the Eagles. I think our team, when it comes to talent, is a lot better, but depth doesn't even matter anymore. With how bad this team played, do you think the Eagles are now the favor?
It's hard to say right now, man. I think we got to let a few weeks go by, but uh, I still think the Cowboys can pull the division out.
I hope so. And then, of course, Arizona. I mean, great. Even though Kirk only had 2 receptions, he had a big receiving touchdown towards the beginning. Kenyon Drake, huge night. Fantasy owners of Kenyon Drake, you are rejoicing because he breakout game that no one thought he was going to have because Drake has really been the most disappointing player for fantasy. But he showed out last night, especially that defense was running numbers against that Dallas O-line. And because of that, I'm going to give my defensive player of the week to Buda Baker, a career game. His first career interception actually last night. 7 total tackles, a tackle for a loss, a sack, an interception, a pass deflection, a forced fumble. There is nothing that Buda Baker could have done like more than that, except for a touchdown. Besides that, he did everything. He did everything for the Cardinals. Kid had a career game, and he's making it really seem like that contract was worth something good. What about you?
That's funny because I actually have Buda Baker too as my defensive player of the week. That's insane. I didn't think we would be that close. Yeah, great stats by Buda Baker. I just thought that he had a huge impact. He's definitely making that money that they gave him worth it.
And then, of course, let's review our starts and sits from last week. I had a horrible week, an absolutely horrible week. And some of these guys I didn't expect to play good. Some of these guys I didn't expect to play as bad as they did. The only hit I had for my sits last week was the Miami defense, and that's because they shut out the Jets. Other than that, my other hits when it came to sits, I said sit Judy, Lindsey, Schultz, and Bills. They all didn't have good weeks, but when it came to my misses, I thought Fitz was going to have a good week. I thought he was going to have a really good week. He only put up 15, so I'm going to put that as a miss for me. I didn't expect him, especially against that bad Jets defense. And then Alexander Madison, biggest disappointment of this week. If it wasn't Zeke, it was definitely him. I said start Marquise Brown. That passing game just wasn't even an option for Baltimore. They were running so well against Philly. Mike Gesicki put up a donut, 0 against the Jets. Wouldn't have expected that. He only got 2 targets, but still 0. And then I said sit Wentz. He put up 29. And then, of course, both of us put D-Hop as our stud. And I believe he only put up 9.
Yeah, I had a terrible week also. Again, my only hit with my starts is the Dolphins defense. I mean, I said to start Kirk Cousins and Madison. I mean, I hope you guys didn't do that. That's
Kirk
just
Cousins. Kirk Cousins finished with 24. Actually,
24 points.
I'm
Okay,
pretty
well,
sure he
Kirk
finished
did
with
good.
24.
I just had a feeling he did bad because of how,
Oh, he had a horrible first quarter. He had a horrible first
yeah.
quarter, second quarter. It was pretty much garbage time when Justin Jefferson got all those points. That's when Kirk Cousins' numbers started to fly.
And then I had Chark as my receiver. He put up 11 points. I said to start Eric Ebron, and he put up 2 points. The Dolphins defense was my only hot spot last week.
Yeah. It was an odd week, with some of the blowouts and some of the, misses and everything. It was a really odd week. But let's get into next week. Some big guys coming off of their buys. Get into your stud of the week. What do you got?
After all those downfield targets against the Chiefs, I think it's going to be Diggs against the Jets this week. I see him going off the rest of the season with all those downfield targets. He's going to become a fantasy machine at some point this year. if you watch that game, I mean, he's obviously Allen's favorite target. He runs so many deep posts. I mean, streaks, everything. He's downfield a lot. He has so much upside every game. I'm putting him as the stud against a terrible Jets team. Uh, it could be they could blow him out early and resort to the run game, which will give Singletary a pretty good amount of numbers. But I think Diggs can get some touchdowns early when they're still passing.
Yeah, I like that take. I debated with a couple of guys. I wanted to put D Hop again because even though he put up that dud, it's Seattle. He plays Seattle this week. I really wanted to put it in, but I couldn't. Galladay, he's on my fantasy team. He had 110, I believe, last week, and then he plays Atlanta this week. He's on pace for a good week, but I don't think any of these guys are going to put up the numbers that Alvin Kamara is going to put up. This is my second time putting him as my stud of the week this year. Kamara plays Carolina. Especially after seeing what Todd Gurley did for me against Carolina. Carolina is horrible against the run defense. I mean, if Montgomery didn't get that touchdown stolen from him, he would have had 20 against them. And that's a guy who isn't really on the same level that Kamara is. If Michael Thomas is back, his numbers could go down, but I still feel like this is a 30, maybe even 40-point week from Kamara. And then QBs, starts, and sits. Let's roll into it. I want to see who you got first.
I'm gonna go with a pretty big take, and I'm gonna say Big Ben versus Tennessee after what Deshaun Watson did. Big Ben has been putting up consistent numbers. He has the weapons. He has the O-line. It's gonna be another shootout against Tennessee, I believe, and I think Big Ben will get you at least 20 this week, a given. And then for my sit, I'm gonna go with Derek Carr after seeing what Aaron Rodgers did against Tampa. Derek Carr plays Tampa. Uh, their D line's probably going to get to him just like they did to Rodgers. He's going to have to chuck up some interceptions. So we'll see.
At my QB start, I got Matthew Stafford against Atlanta. I had to go with somebody against Atlanta this week. If I wasn't going to go Galladay, and he's really too big of a must start to put at wide receiver, so I had to go Stafford here. He put up kind of a dud last week. Not really all that great of a performance against Jacksonville, but Stafford does still have great upside, especially with Galladay. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin Jones gets into the end zone, maybe even Danny Amendola. And I got another guy on that Detroit offense that I want to talk about later on. But yeah, Stafford, I believe, is set for a good week, pretty much like every other. I mean, look at Kirk Cousins. Even though it was garbage time, he still put up 24 with those 3 interceptions. I mean, take away those interceptions. Ooh, he's having an amazing week. And then I got Jared Goff versus Chicago. He kind of started to fall back to earth. That whole Rams team started to, and this Chicago defense is not something to mess around with. This year, they are back to being that extremely elite, one of the best defenses in the league. I don't feel like this is going to be a good week for the Rams. I don't feel like this is going to be a good week for Goff in general. And then I'm going to roll into my running backs this week. David Johnson is going to be I think he was one of those guys that I considered putting as a low-key stud of the week because he plays against Green Bay. And after seeing what Ronald Jones managed to do with them, David Johnson is a very reliable running back. And I feel like he's going to put big numbers against this Green Bay defense.
I'd like to touch on David Johnson before you move on. He's been very consistent. He's going to have a breakout game soon. I was telling you guys about this guy, if you don't remember, in like episodes 1, 2, and 3. I'm very high on David Johnson. He's going to break out soon, and they're going to realize his talent, and they're going to use him some more.
And then as my sit, I got Devontae Freeman over there in New York. He's starting to become the running back one. I'm pretty sure that is clear. But Philadelphia, if there's anything good on this team, it's their run defense. And I feel like Devontae Freeman put up a dud last week. And I don't expect this New York Giants team to play good at all this Thursday. So, yeah, Devontae Freeman is not going to have a good week this week.
I'm going Gurley versus Detroit as my running back. Again, him and David Johnson, 2 guys I was high on. They're going to break out sooner or later. Gurley's already kind of broken out. Did he put up pretty good numbers last week? I'm pretty sure he didn't do too well.
He put up 9 because they kind of went away from the rushing game because Julio had such a huge game.
All right, well, I'm going Gurley versus Detroit as my start. Get him in your lineups and maybe even in your flex if you have pretty good running backs. And I'm going Darrell Henderson versus the Bears. Darrell Henderson did terrible against San Fran in that Sunday, playing another good defense. He's starting to get some carries stolen from him, too. I saw Cam Akers out there a few times. Sit him versus the Bears this week.
And then wide receivers, I got a guy who I think has been pretty consistent and is starting to get targeted a lot. by Joe Burrow. Tyler Boyd plays against Cleveland this week. We saw the game that Cooper had against him, and I feel like Boyd will have another great game against Cleveland. I believe he put up 20 the last time around that they played. So Boyd, if you've kind of been disappointed by some of the games that he's played, even then I'm pretty sure he's still ranked in the top 20. So Boyd is a great start against Cleveland this week. And I got kind of a hot take here. I don't think DJ Moore is going to have a good week this week. I have him as my big sit. Robbie Anderson is the 6th wide receiver ranked in fantasy right now. I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying that. I thought I would have been saying that for DJ Moore. He had incredible upside coming in, but Robbie Anderson has really taken over the helm. Teddy Bridgewater loves Anderson so much. He's a great deep threat, and he's got wheels too. I mean, DJ Moore still has the wheels, but this man is tall. He's like 6'3", 6'4". And I feel like if there's any guy to have more points in this game, it's going to be Robbie Anderson. And I just don't like DJ Moore in this matchup. I can't trust him anymore. I believe he's out of the top 20 now.
That's funny. I have DJ Moore as my start of the week versus the Saints. He put up 33 against the Saints last year, and I think week 4 or something like that. So I think he's going to do good again. I mean, he has the Saints number. They're probably, I know they've made adjustments since then, but he did good against them last year in both games. It could be Robbie Anderson stepping up, though, into a spot against the Saints. But one of those two receivers will get you some good numbers, I'm pretty sure, this week. And with wide receiver, I'm going with somebody that's been surprising people the past 3 weeks is Jamison Crowder, playing against Buffalo. We all know Buffalo has Tre'Davious White. So sit Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, no doubt. And then tight end.
I'm going with Austin Hooper, who's been a consistent 10 points the past 3 or 4 weeks. He's playing Cincinnati. They've been not too great against tight ends. I believe they're like 20th or 19th in the league versus tight ends. He's usually a touchdown threat. If he doesn't get a touchdown, he usually has low numbers. But he's been seeing the end zone a few times the past few weeks. And for my tight end sit, I'm going with Jonnu Smith. We're not so sure about him. You might have to get a waiver wire this week if you have him on your team because he's got injury, but they don't know if he's going to play or not. He's questionable, and he's playing Pittsburgh, who is locking down tight ends and receivers all over the place.
So I got hot takes kind of on both sides. Not really hot takes on the sit side, but on the start side, I don't trust this guy, but I needed somebody to look at when it comes to guys that you needed to start that you don't usually start or that is a little bit risky. So I'm going to go with the risk here. I'll probably end up taking a big L on this one, but I feel like TJ Hawkinson, I believe that's his name. I'm pretty sure it's
Yep.
But Hawkinson for Detroit, I feel like he can have a good game. Not a great game, not like a 20-pointer, but 15 maybe is what I'm hoping for him. We saw, at least I saw, what Schultz did to Atlanta. And when Schultz stepped in, he got a crap ton of targets. Now, it's not really the same thing over there in Dallas because when it was Schultz, it was a lot more surprising. You got all those wide receivers, and then you got this tight end that nobody's heard of getting like 12 targets in that game. And then Hawkinson, I feel like is going to have a little bit of the same thing. I still feel like Kenny Golladay is going to have a great game. I don't feel like Hawkinson's going to be taking away much from him because he does still get a crap ton of red zone targets. But I feel like Hawkinson could have a good week. And over there in the sits, I can't give up on him because my other tight end is kind of injury prone right now with Fant. I don't know how he's going to be performing, but if I had another choice, I'm giving up on Evan Ingram. He plays Philly this week. They give up a lot of points. It's a great matchup, but I don't like Evan Ingram. I don't like anyone on this Giants offense. Daniel Jones is playing like dog crap. This O-line sucks. Ingram, once again, same thing with Dalton Schultz, is being pulled out for blockers, even though he's not really all that great of a blocker. He's just not getting the targets anymore. I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to break out soon because he was getting 8 targets, but just couldn't do anything much with them. And now he's gone down to like 3-2 targets a game. I'd give it up on Evan Ingram if I could, but I'm forced to start him this week. So defensive special teams this week. I got the Bills versus Jets. Pretty obvious. This Bills defense, I still feel like is good. They got the talent to be good. They just haven't had the greatest matchups. But they play against the Jets. The Jets got shut out by the Dolphins. Imagine what the Bills are going to do to them. And then as my sit, I got the Arizona Cardinals. If you think this Cardinals defense is good now, do not be fooled. Andy Dalton is a horrible quarterback. Russell Wilson is not. Don't ever start anything against the Seattle offense, even though that's what people were saying about the Dallas offense. It's not the same. They haven't been through the type of stuff that Dallas has gone through. Seattle, on the other hand, they still have their franchise quarterback. Don't be fooled by a great performance. Cardinals are not a good start at all this week. And then waiver wire. Let's get into what we got as the waiver wires. I want to hear, who is your best pickup for running back this week?
I'm going with Justin Jackson. He's stepped up into the lead role for the Chargers, getting a ton of receiving targets. He plays Jacksonville this week, so if you're in a deep league and you need someone to play, go ahead and go with Justin Jackson. We thought it was going to be Josh Kelly, but Justin Jackson has stepped up and taken the starting role from Eckler.
And then I got DeAndre Swift for Detroit. Even though it is a committee over there, DeAndre Swift played like he deserved to be picked in the first round. He was picked in the early second by Detroit. I love Swift. I watched him in Georgia. I know how good this kid was. He's one of the top running back prospects in the league. Even though he is 62% owned in NFL leagues, I still feel like not a lot of people are playing him as much or just looking into him as much. He's still that big guy for me this week, especially it gets Atlanta. So pick up DeAndre Swift if you can. At wide receiver, I got Travis Fulgham for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Same here.
I don't know where Philly's finding these wide receivers. At first, I was going to say Greg Ward, but Fulgham has really stepped up. That rookie, not rookie, I believe he's a second-year guy, Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, he hasn't been able to do anything. Fulgham stepped in. He's been playing great, and he plays against New York. New York does not have a good secondary at all. I feel like even though Bradbury has been playing good for the Giants, which is probably about him and Blake Martinez are about the only good guys on their defense, I still feel like Fulgham will have a good game. He's 23.6% owned in leagues as well. So go ahead and put him up. You said you had him at wide receiver as well?
Yeah, I have Fulgham.
And then QB, who do you have?
I'm going with Minshew versus Detroit this week. He's a good streaming option. Again, if you're hurt by injuries at quarterback or something like that, you can find a quarterback on the waiver wire. There's a ton of great ones that are not owned in a lot of leagues. So Minshew is a good pickup.
I got surprisingly, I didn't think I'd be saying this around this time, but he's looked a lot better from when he started. He's still having turnover problems, yes, but he's looked a lot better. His percentage has gone down since the beginning of the year, so that's why I'm putting him up here. 57.4% owned, plays against the Giants this week. I got another Eagle, Carson Wentz. If you gave up on him, put your trust back in him. He's been playing great. He put up 29 against that Baltimore defense last week. That is unheard of. He's basically the new Dak. He's having to pull his team out of holes with nobodies. I mean, Dak plays with like the best wide receiver core in the league, but Wentz is having to pull his team out of a hole. Now Miles Sanders is injured, yeah. Ertz is injured, yeah, but he wasn't doing much anyways. And Miles Sanders wasn't all that involved in the passing game. So I feel like Wentz is going to be a good stream. Not really that guy you would keep on your bench the entire year. But yeah, I feel like Wentz is a great pickup this week. So that's all of our starts and sits. Let's wrap it up here and get into our game predictions for next week. Thursday Night Football, Philadelphia, New York. Who do you got?
Philadelphia, easy.
Yeah, I got Philadelphia here, but I do want to make a take about just on entirely. Washington plays Dallas this week. I'm not happy with this team. I feel like Chase Young is going to have a field day against Dallas. So I feel like, quick mention, I feel like Washington is going to beat Dallas this week, and Philly is going to take over the division. Steelers, Titans, undefeated teams, two of the best teams in the league going at it this week. I feel like this is going to be an amazing game, and I got the Titans pulling away in this one.
I'm going to go with the Steelers in that game. That's going to be a great game to watch. Everyone's going to need to watch that one. That's probably going to be game of the year if it wasn't last week.
Yeah, no doubt. Arizona, Seattle. Kyler Murray had a great game just overall. Kenny Drake had a great game as well. We don't know how much he's going to be riding off of that when it comes to against Seattle, because I'm pretty sure Jamal Adams has been resting for a while, so he might be back this week, and they still do have Bobby Wagner. So for all those reasons alone, I would love to go Arizona here for the upset, but I am going to go with the safer choice and pick Seattle.
You can't bet against Russell Wilson. He's a beast in the clutch. I'm going to pick Seattle.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Bucks, Raiders this week. Who do you got?
Ooh, that's going to be a good game actually too. But I'll keep the hot Bucks. I'll pick the train.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the upset here. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna go with the Raiders. Raiders look great right now. especially after what they did against Kansas City. I mean, if you can do that against Kansas City, you can do that against any offense in the league, in my opinion. So, yeah, Raiders, I feel like can pull off the upset. And the matchup isn't really all that great. It's interdivisional, but it's what everyone wants to talk about. So I'm just going to bring up the player, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, how do you feel like he's going to play this week? More specifically, do you see him getting like under 12 points?
I say under. I think Hilaire is going to definitely be the starting back, at least for the first week. I probably for the whole season after his rushing performance last night. Le'Veon Bell will be sprinkled in though, but I don't think he's a fantasy start or anything yet. But we'll see how they use him in the offense.
Yeah, no doubt. And then wrap off the games with Bears versus Rams. I said earlier, this Bears defense is not to mess around with. I would have said the same about the whole Rams team, but their defense fell apart last week against San Francisco, a banged up San Francisco. So I got to take the Bears here.
Ooh, 5-1. They're 5-1, right? The Bears.
I'm pretty sure they're 5-1. Yeah.
I'm gonna say that the Rams are gonna take this game. I've been loving the Bears this season. They've been playing great, but I'll take the Rams in that game.
But yeah, guys, with all that said, thank you guys for watching this week's episode. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. We appreciate the support and everything. Click the bell. Like the video if you like it. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll have something good to talk about at the Cowboys. I'm hoping so. But yeah, without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. See you next week. Peace.